I remember when 9/11 happened. I was in university, and when I got to class, my professor said, "It's understandable if you need to go home considering what happened today." I had no idea what he was talking about, but I turned the news on when I got home, and I watched as the events unfolded. First, the Twin Towers, then the Pentagon. Planes full of passengers crashed into buildings, killing everyone in the planes. Then the towers collapsed, and so many lives were lost of office personnel left with the choice of burning to death or jumping out of the towers and plunging to their deaths. None of us could think of anything else. I could not stop imagining how terrifying this was for the victims involved. How would I prepare for the worst in that situation? It was shocking to see a U.S. president say, "We are going to find the people responsible for this, and we are going to kill them." I had never seen a politician say such a thing. But at the time, many of us believed that drastic actions were needed to stop such a tragedy from happening again. Comedians stopped being comical. David Letterman, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, they had somber tones to their late show. The United States prepared for war. And all this time I was wondering, how do you fight an enemy that doesn't play by the rules? Terrorists targeted civilians. Terrorists target civilians. Their plan is to have massive civilian casualties to strike fear in the general populace. Good guys, they don't do that. The good guys need to be precise in who they hit. They only want to hit bad guys. But when the terrorists use civilians as a shield, what do? The moment any civilian is harmed, the terrorists are like, "See? You are no better than us." Good guys are supposed to live by a higher standard, and that may give them a disadvantage over those who fight dirty. Now, since then, I have learned that good guys are never as good as we want them to be. War is a very complex thing. Sometimes civilians have to be seen as collateral damage when the threat is great and difficult to neutralize. I'm not even going to begin to understand war. I'm not going to pretend that I understand war. But this is what I believe. Freedom comes at a price, but it's not just the price of our brave soldiers that sacrifice their lives. It's also at the price of soldiers scarred for life, either physically, mentally, or both. At the price of their loved ones who suffer from the absence of that loved one who's deployed to a strange country. The price of suffering the loss of that loved one, or having to welcome a loved one back into their family who has changed drastically after having to witness and participate in actions no human being should experience. It is also at the price of their brave soldiers. Who knows what happened to put them on the other side of this conflict? It is very possible that they themselves believe just as strongly in the righteousness of their cause. However misguided their cause appears to be to us. Again, their loved ones pay the same price our soldiers' loved ones pay. A part of the conflict often missed when people consider the price of freedom. Freedom also comes at the price of their civilians. They also can be casualties or be scarred for life in the same way as the soldiers. What an awful thing. I hate conflict. I want to build bridges to prevent conflicts from escalating to this level. I remember teaching social studies in northern Alberta, and one of my students said to me, "Religious people are always hypocritical." I looked at this young man and I said, "How hard is it to live up to a moral code you made up yourself. Not very, right? Religious people try to live up to a standard they did not make up themselves. So what they are trying to do is, in fact, more difficult than what the person making up their own morals has to do. And that is why religious people can have a low success rate of living out what they teach. Now, since then, I have realized something about religious people. Jesus was very correct when he warned that we need to remove the plank from our eye before attempting to remove the sliver from another person's eye. Religious people have this awful tendency to want to focus on trying to obliterate the wrong sins, oblivious to their own hurtful, tone-deaf behavior that is far more dangerous than their neighbor's allegedly misguided passions. At the same time, the culture of wokeness is fighting against this wave of religious people and their hurtful, tone-deaf behavior, which can often inadvertently or advertently prop up white supremacy and misogyny. They need to pay. They need to stop spreading misinformation. They need to be canceled. And canceling leads to a group of people being alienated and unheard. They have something to share with the world. They want to prevent the inevitable takeover of Marxism, the fall of the free market, the fall of freedom of speech, the fall of the nuclear family, the persecution of the religious, but all the left wants to do is silence them. Now, I don't believe that unregulated anything is a great idea. I also don't believe naively trusting the government to have supreme power in every aspect of our lives so they can regulate every aspect of our lives is a good idea either. But I feel there are conversations that need to be had from both sides. And I think when it comes to religion, there are conversations that need to be had on both sides also. Humanism intrigues me. To be empathetic to another human being and working together for the betterment of humanity is a great idea. And I can see where someone would say that makes more sense than mindlessly adhering to ancient text as a guide to understand what's wrong and right. Now, call me a heretic, but I believe people from all religions, or people with no religion whatsoever, can teach me something about morality. I want to build bridges between the sacred and the secular. Neither side has a completely accurate understanding of reality by itself. I've made the mistake of letting everyone know I'm a bridge builder. It means that people have a certain expectation of me. Like the good guy I was talking about earlier, I'm not supposed to break the same rules that polarized individuals are allowed to break. My first inclination when confronted by a polarized person about being edgy is to want to say something along the lines of, "You got room to talk there, jerk face." But you know what? I've got to be the good guy. Whataboutisms get us nowhere. I have to live with integrity. I have to lead by example. My killer retort, valid point. I'm going to delete the tweet in I'm not going to delete the tweet in question. I'm going to leave it for the world to see. I may have taken things too far, but when I was called on it, I said, valid point. And it ended there. I'm working on this. And it's not easy. And you know what? When I fail, I am more than willing to hear you out. Continue to call me on it. I will do my best to be gracious and set an example of being a person who is moldable and is walking the way of the master toward better emulating love. Much love, everybody.
Air Smudge.